name's Lisa Harrison, and today for me is Tuesday the 19th of June 2012, and I'm speaking with an individual who goes by the name of Cobra. Cobra appeared on the scene via a website called 2012 Portal, just in March of this year, and Cobra claims to be a member of an underground resistance movement, and the website 2012 Portal website acts as both a platform for making public announcements as well as coded communication with fellow resistance members. Cobra's identity is at this stage private, which is why this is audio only, and his voice will be in fact modified. Mine will just sound modified because I'm sick with a cold, but this is what I sound like at the moment. So welcome, Cobra.
Thank you for this invitation.
Thank you for agreeing to it. I've been looking forward to this. I know that there is a lot you can't talk about, but as I'm not very clear on the guidelines, if it's okay with you, I'll just ask a bunch of questions and you answer what you can.
Yes, we can go this way, for sure.
Okay. Now, you talked about this resistance movement, and I was wondering if you could tell me when it was created. When did this resistance movement come together?
Okay, there are two phases of creation of the resistance movement. The first phase started in the mid-70s by a certain individual that has a code name Michael. This is not his real name, but this is his code name. And he actually gathered a group of people around him, basically just to survive, because he was chased after by the Cabal. And by running for his life, he discovered a maze of tunnels beneath New York railway system. And he created his base there. And by expanding further, he discovered there are other beings living below the surface of the earth in the underground caverns. And he made contacts with those people, and so this was the formation of the group called the organization. This was the first phase of the resistance movement. But later, in the late 90s, this organization was under strong attacks from the Cabal, which was quite more powerful at that time, and was almost completely wiped out in 1999. So the call for help was sent to the extraterrestrial positive forces, and they brought enforcements in the shape of many millions of very skilled fighters that came from Planet X, and those fighters were teleported in the upper crust of the Earth's surface, those underground caverns, and they regrouped there. So this group actually then reorganized and made a plan to continue liberating this planet from the influence of the Cabal. So this plan is now being accelerated, as you probably already know, and we are now in the phases when we start talking about the final liberation of the planet.
So these people that live below the surface, are these the ones that we would know as the Agarthians?
Yes, this is quite connected. Behind the resistance movement, there are other beings which are not actually skilled fighters, but are very spiritual, advanced people who actually hold the balance of the situation. Without them doing meditations every day, without them connecting with the source every day, this planet would be destroyed many times over. So there's actually a spiritual part of this underground movement, underground civilization, and many channels and many light workers call this civilization Agartha. This is just one of the names, but there are actually many very evolved beings living down under there.
Interesting. Now, if I heard you correctly, in your previous interview, you said there were 300 individuals on what you would consider the front line of this resistance, and 20 million around the planet. Did I hear that right?
Okay, I will explain. There are about 300 which are on the surface of the planet, infiltrated inside the system of the Cabal. They're infiltrated in position high in the military, and especially in the alphabet agencies, intelligence agencies, positions of that nature. And the rest of them, about 20 million at this time, they are not living on the surface of the planet. They are living underground and never come to the surface. They will only come to the surface of the planet if necessary.
What would be deemed if necessary?
There are actually special plans being prepared. I'm not allowed to speak about yet, but in a few days I might, and I will explain this in my blog.
Okay. So these 300 and these 20 million are primarily made up of ETs who have come here, not humans.
Actually, they are human bodies. If you would meet one of them in the streets, they would look like everybody else. Those people have incarnated on planet X, which is a planet situated in the outer range of the solar system. And some of them even had some incarnations on planet Earth. Actually, one of them I know had some incarnation in Egypt times. But mostly those people are, I would consider the same as the starseeds on planet Earth. And we have about 5 million starseeds incarnated on planet Earth, on the surface of the planet, that took many Earth incarnations. Mm-hmm. And I would say both those factions are quite similar in their structure, psychology, and outer look.
Now, you say that yourself are Palladian incarnated on Earth.
Yes, that's true.
Were you born with full memory of who you are, where you came from, and why you're here? Or did that come
yes,
later?
Most of the memory, I would say not 100%, but I was always aware that I'm not coming from here and that I have a certain mission here. I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm. So how important was the recent Venus transit to what's going on here at the moment?
Venus transit is one of the turning points for the planetary liberation, because this is the day where when the goddess energy finally returned completely to planet Earth and has been anchored also inside the physical matter of planet Earth. This is a very strong energy that actually brings balance and peace after more than 5,000 years of constant wars and conflicts. And this energy influences everybody, including the Cabal. So this is the reason why they were starting to consider surrendering. They never had that idea before. They had this delusional thinking that they are only powerful and omnipresent and they can do everything they want and get away with it. But now they're starting to realize that might not be the case.
Is this only a small faction that are considering surrender, or is this across the board?
Not everybody, but many of them. And right now, as I speak, there is actually a conflict inside the Cabal whether to surrender or not. So we'll see very soon in a few days what happens.
So, in addition to maybe the energy that came in with the transit was sort of the tipping point, but were they considering surrendering prior to that? And if so, why would they? What could possibly frighten them enough to consider it?
Actually, the light is getting more and more powerful day by day. Mm-hmm. And the Cabal is beginning to realize that their plans are not going as they wish them to be. So the actual situation is starting to push them in this direction.
That's interesting. So at the moment we've got several people talking about possible surrender, and we've got this 21st, which is only in 2 days' time for me, deadline. The problem I see at the moment is that people have been hanging on, so to speak, one deadline date after another that have come and gone, and we've not seen any real action. We're not seeing anything break through to the mass media. We're not, to our knowledge, everybody's still in place and they're still doing what they'd always planned to do. If this date of the 21st comes and goes again, that people are just that'll be it. That may well be the final straw, because there's been so much talk of it. How do you foresee? How can I put this? How do you foresee a surrender or not breaking through? I mean, are they really going to come onto mass media, on mainstream television, and talk about what they've done and who they are? I mean, that is going to blow so many minds.
Okay, first let me explain about the deadlines. This is a huge process, and each deadline is just one step in this process until the major breakthrough happens. And when the major breakthrough happens, it will be really major for everybody. And that will actually include things like the Cabal stepping up to the mass media and saying what they did, or them being arrested, or anything of that nature. So, if the 21st June comes and goes, which is possible, then the further plans will be implemented that are being prepared right now. So I would not fix myself on any certain date. I would focus more upon the process itself. From one perspective, nothing is going on and they are still in power. But if you look at the background, there are many changes happening daily. And also, if there would not be any activity of the light forces, the situation would be much, much, much worse. There was a lot of talk about the war between Israel and Iran a few months ago. And now this has been almost cancelled. There had been talk about New World Order putting everybody in the FEMA camps. This has not happened. And why this has not happened? Exactly because of the activity of the light forces. So the light is real, it is proceeding. There are no guarantees about the exact date of the breakthrough, but we're getting closer and closer. And each of those deadlines is a step further in that process. So I would say there is a certain possibility that the Cabal will surrender on the 21st of June. And if they don't, which is also possible, then further plans will be implemented, and I will update people about this when it is necessary and when it is appropriate on my blog.
I wanted to speak about your blog because I had an amazing synchronistic event. Because I personally had I don't know whether you'd call it a vision or a download or something about 3 years ago, and I've not had any external confirmation or validation for it. And I've been talking about it for the last few years as the rinse and repeat cycle of incarnation. And you described it perfectly on your blog today, which I just thought the synchronicity of that on the day that we're due to speak was remarkable.
You see, synchronicities like this one are happening exactly for the reason that people have doubts, to give them hope and guidance that this is all happening. And this is all being planned from forces much greater than all of us. This is coming directly from the source.
Now, when we first corresponded, it was because of information you put out about archons, and my question to you was, had you read any of John Lamb Lash's work on the archons? And you said yes, and that there was some truth in it. Can I get your definition of what an archon is and where they come from?
Okay, archon is actually a being that has been subjected to very strong unnatural mutation process. Long time ago in the galactic history, there was a certain group of beings that were in fact very powerful angels, and they wanted to experience matter. So they devised very advanced technology based on electromagnetic fields that distorted space and time continuum. And they subjected themselves to this technology, and this has changed their consciousness. And this is the source of evil, as you would describe it. And those beings have been very powerful angels before, and after this process, they became very powerful, I would say, demons. And they actually created quarantine Earth, and they ruled this planet for the last 25,000 years. And now it's time for them to go. Their time is up.
So, based on the prophecies that we have about the equinox, and not the equinox, the precession, the precession of the equinoxes, and the awakenings that happen at this time, this little experiment of theirs, was it always going to have a time frame? It was always going to have to end at this time. They had 26,000 years to mess around, but that was always going to be it.
Yes, actually there is a special timeline which has not been disclosed to humanity yet. By that specific date, this thing needs to be erased, and it will be erased. It will end. one way or the other.
It's that one way or the other thing that gets people nervous. So where and if do the grey ETs fit in with the Archons?
Okay, the Greys are just one of the many races which were subjected to genetic engineering and modification of consciousness in the collective history, and they have been pretty active on this planet in the last, I would say, 50 years, but in the last few years, this has been cleared. And at this moment, there are no more negative ET entities on this planet, except those who are incarnated in human bodies as the Cabal. So there are no strange, fine-looking ETs flying around in their ships around the planet right now.
Is that interdimensionally as well, in fourth or fifth or wherever, or just?
Yes, as I have already described many times, the only place where there is any darkness is the thin surface layer of this planet, on the physical plane and on those higher non-physical planes as well. And this is what I have described in my last article. This is the only thing left.
So, when you say those who are incarnated as human beings in the Cabal, so it is entirely possible for these Archons to manifest physically here as humans.
Yes, some of them have incarnated on the physical plane, especially among the Jesuits, because this is the only vibration that suits them.
My own research about
a few hundred years ago, there were many more incarnated because the vibration of this planet was much lower. Mm-hmm. But as the vibration gets higher, it's hard for them to maintain the physical body. So we now have this few of them on the physical plane.
So there will be people listening to this who, when you say the Jesuits, believe they're just a religious order, but
I can explain. 90% of Jesuits are good-hearted people, and they really believe that everything is okay, and they have their connection with the source. But 10% are not, and among those 10%, there are a certain fraction that are extremely dangerous and extremely evil, and they have to be stopped. And they're actually the ones leading the whole organization. And not just that organization, they're actually in control to a certain extent of the physical plane of this planet.
I'm surprised to hear you say only 10%. I honestly thought it was a much greater percentage than that. And from what I understand, the Jesuits are a military order. They're assassins masquerading as priests.
Something like that. They were actually military order hundreds of years ago, and they have evolved. And now, I would say they command military forces indirectly through their connections, especially with the Rothschilds. So you have few top Archons in the Jesuit faction and they control the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds have very deep connections in the industrial military complex. And with that, they control, through the military around the world, they control the physical plane. And of course, through the Rothschild faction, also the financial system. But those few Archons inside the Jesuit faction are the ones who say what's going to happen and what's not going to happen.
Sorry, at the moment, we've got a situation where the Vatican is kind of hemorrhaging whistleblowers. Do you think that is a genuine collapse of that organization, or is it a manipulated one to appear?
You see, what is interesting for me to observe is always when the resistance movement clears some of those Archons or does something about them, there's a scandal in the Vatican. So this has happened a few years ago, it's happening again. So I would say this is a reaction of the Vatican because the power is being cut off from those Jesuits daily. They have less and less power each day. And this for sure triggers a reaction of those who are subordinate to those Jesuits. And of course they react, there is some true leaked out, and there is some reaction and also some manipulation included. But yes, there is a reaction which is a direct consequence of the Jesuit Archons losing their power.
So can we say the same thing about the financial collapse? That this is a genuine financial collapse that's out of the control of the Cabal, and not one of their orchestrated collapses in order to bring in a one world currency?
There are actually two sides of this story. Mm, this collapse, actually, I would say this way: the Cabal was planning on their collapse a long time ago, and they initiated this collapse with the same plan that had many times before to grab people's gold and grab more money and get more control. But the whole collapse was there are higher forces that are leading this collapse in a way that actually will take power away from the Cabal. So by triggering that, they're actually doing their own way. Because the light forces in the last few months have taken a lot of control. They have much more power over the financial system, which doesn't mean the financial system is still not in the the financial system is still in the hands of the Rothschilds, but there is a certain computer program which actually drives the whole financial system, and this computer program has received a virus on the 21st of May this year. So the light forces can actually shut down the whole system just like that. They just flip the switch and it's gone. And this might happen in the case of the mass arrest scenario. If this scenario is going to be executed in the way it was planned, the light forces can just switch off the financial system and we have a banking holiday around the world everywhere. And this for the purpose of cutting the Cabal away from their money. Because they still have access to that money. They have much less than they had in the past, but they still have enough to survive and run their show, as you can probably experience today. Because the Cabal needs, I would say, few $1 billion every day to control everybody, to control the media, to control the military, to keep the show running. And if they get less than, let's say, 1 or 2 billion daily, they're in deep trouble.
So what about the Olympics coming up? There's a lot of talk about a terrorist attack, false flag event. Are you aware of any plans that they may have had for the Olympics?
Yes, they had plans, but this is not going to happen. Like they had many plans for many things, and most of them did not happen. Exactly because of the activity of the light forces.
What about the? I know there's a lot of talk, and you've mentioned it before, but earth changes, severe earth changes. Most of the information coming to us about earth changes that will happen are coming from off-world sources, as are the information about, they'll be mitigated. But there's nothing that I'm aware of really here on the ground to suggest that we are in for earth changes. Nobody's talking about it from from studying the planet and what's going on with it. It's been said that this is just another fear paradigm that is being orchestrated either by the darker ETs or the Archons or the Cabal. Why is, if in fact earth changes are part of this process, why?
Okay, this is quite a complex story, and I'll try to explain. Actually, Earth changes were part of what was about to happen on this planet. This was predicted a long time ago, but the activity of the light forces have diminished the impact of those changes dramatically. So actually, the positive ET races have been expecting those Earth changes to happen a long time ago, and they did not because of the activity of the light forces on this planet. And there might be some Earth changes happening, but not in 2012, much later than that. They might happen after a certain, when the critical mass of humanity will awaken, and the purpose of those Earth changes happening is to purify the planet. But day by day, the situation looks brighter and brighter, so there is nothing to fear. And yes, there is scientific evidence of those things. There is a scientist by the name of Paul Violet that is speaking about the activity of the galactic central sun And actually, those Earth changes are happening cyclically every 26,000 years when the galactic central sun gets active. And right now, we are entering the period of increased activity of the galactic central sun. But as I have said, the positive light forces can direct the energy of the galactic central sun in a balanced way so that this process is not traumatic for humanity. So I would say there's nothing to fear.
Okay. I don't know whether you can answer this or not, but Drake, Wilcox, Fulford, and the Postmaster General. These are all people I know you're aware of. Are they all in touch with the same group you're in touch with?
The only thing I can say, I will say this. One of the contacts that Drake has been contacted by one of the 300 agents of the resistance movement. Mm-hmm. And this is the only contact I know that has a real connection with the resistance, not directly, but indirectly.
Okay.
Other people do not have direct access to this, but they get intel from their various sources.
And to your knowledge, is the Postmaster General genuine and playing a positive role in all of this?
I would say that everybody needs to have their own discernment regarding to who is genuine or not. So I will not give any estimates or intel about this.
Okay.
So everybody needs to use their own discernment and intuition and rational mind on who is genuine, who is not.
I'm more curious as to whether or not there's even any point in going down that road, I guess. If you know what I mean. If it's all going to come crumbling down.
I didn't quite understand. So what did you say?
Oh, okay. Well, going through the process that the Postmaster General has proposed, if it's all going to come crashing down, is there really any point in even going down that road?
Well, I would say it's a guided crash, or not even a crash, it's a transformation. And it's guided from above, so it's not like end of the world or anything of that nature. It's actually transformation that will lead towards a new society.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've also said that the Palladians will initiate first contact once the Cabal is removed. But what constitutes removed?
It means that they have no more say in anything on this planet. Either they surrender or they are arrested, but they get out of the way, because they're blocking this every day. The top members of the Cabal are well aware of the Pleiadians and other positive light forces, and they are preventing this first contact day after day, year after year, and the time has come to simply get them out of the way so that the first contact can happen.
How can they prevent it, though? I mean, what's stopping you guys? What's stopping the Palladians from just appearing en masse?
First, the Cabal is holding all humanity hostage. So, for example, the Palladians could make a mass landing right now, and what would this trigger? It will be the Cabal would simply release all its military arsenal on people, including not anymore nuclear weapons at this point, but chemical weapons and all the conventional things they have. They would just create a massacre on the planet. So they first need to be stopped, and then the Palladians can appear.
So they're actually holding humanity as a human shield against any action like that happening?
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly. This is what's happening. And this has been in place for the last 25,000 years, 26,000 years. The same situation.
So once they are removed, and what does first contact look like? Does it look like mass sightings, or is that going to be too mind altering for people?
It's a process. So after the Cabal is removed, the Pleiadians will contact few selected private individuals, and then those selected private individuals will go to the mass media, present evidence, and then the Pleiadians will start appearing more and more publicly, up until the point when there will be official contact made between the Pleiadian representatives and the representatives of human population, and those representatives of the human population will be there will be people from the government and the type of government that will exist at that time, and also some other individuals. So there will be a small group of Earth population meeting a small group of Pleiadians, and that will be an official diplomatic contact that will be broadcast over the mass media around the planet. And this will be an official, there will be an official invitation for the Earth to be accepted inside the Galactic Confederation. And this first contact, the official diplomatic first contact, will happen as a response to that invitation. And that will initialize a process of the actual acceptance of the planet. That will take some time, and then the Pleiadians and the other races will introduce themselves and assist the humanity in this transformation.
So are you aware of Tolek, an individual that goes by the name of Tolek?
Yes, to a certain extent, okay. Yes.
So much of what you say in regards to the Pleiadians, he has very similar things to say in regards to the Andromedans. Are the two groups working together?
Actually, there is a whole confederation of many races that are working on this project. I'm only in contact with the Pleiadians, not with the other races, but actually the Pleiadian race will be the first to appear simply because they look like human beings. They are human-like beings, look like humans, and their psychology is, of all the races, the most similar to the human race. And other races will help, but they will not be in the forefront at the beginning. At the later stages, after the first contact, other races will be introduced, and when the humanity is ready to accept different types of beings, it will be easier that way.
The Pleiadians actually play a starring role in the Dreamtime stories of the Australian Aboriginals. They say when you tell our story, you've got to talk about the Pleiades because that's where we came from.
Exactly.
Now, you've also been a big proponent of mass meditations, fire the grid, and other such things. I'm interested in this because I've started a project of my own called the Collective Imagination, and we have big goals of trying to reach 3% of the population to come together to consciously create. How important and how powerful is the collective imagination?
Actually, those collective meditations, mass meditations, can change the situation dramatically. If the critical mass of people gather at the same time and they focus their consciousness in the same way, this is a very powerful stream of energy that can change the course of the events. And actually, the offer for the surrender of the Cabal that was put forth, exactly, let's say, a few hours after the Venus transit meditation, Return of the Goddess meditation. So this is the power our collective consciousness has. And I have just put out a call for regular weekly meditations every Sunday that would continue until the planet is liberated. And I would like more and more people joining those meditations, because when you reach a certain critical mass, this can initialize the breakthrough. Because this unified consciousness field influences everybody, including the people in the military, including the Cabal, including everybody. And there were scientific studies made exactly in Washington, D.C., that the mass meditations have decreased the crime rate in a few weeks by 25%. This is just a few weeks of meditating. So if we continue doing this every Sunday, regardless of everything else, there will be a certain moment, I can guarantee you that a breakthrough will be made and the humanity will be liberated. We just need enough people doing this every Sunday regularly. And this will for sure reach a certain critical mass, and when this critical mass is reached, the breakthrough will happen. Actually, by doing those meditations, we can speed up the process. I think everybody's tired of all those delays, including me, and including other people working on this. And we would like this to happen as soon as possible. And if people do those meditations, they will speed up the process.
Wonderful. In your own words, what is ascension?
Ascension is a liberation of human consciousness from all limitations of the physical world, of the emotions, of the mind. So it's going beyond all that. It's a process of complete and total enlightenment of human consciousness, and actually entering a sphere or dimension of enlightenment of pure light.
Could there be another way of saying it, is in mastering the third dimension, in the sense of gaining as much control in the third dimension as we do in the fourth or fifth? You know, when people have a 4D experience, or even a 5D experience, they can walk through walls, they can fly, they can, do things. If you were to term that having mastered those dimensions, are we in a process of mastering the third?
Okay, after your ascension, you get complete command over your light body, and that includes possibility of manifesting in the third dimension. You can materialize, or should we say project your light body. You can create a light body projection in the third dimension so that other people can see your body. This is what you can do after your ascension. But after your ascension, you have no need to control or to influence the physical plane in the old way. You are beyond that. The only motivation why you would like to manifest or materialize your body is simply to help others reach the same state and to help them liberate.
So this ascension process and getting to that point is something that we're looking at achieving in the next 2 years?
I would not say so. This year is the start of this process, and I have been received instructions from the Pleiadians not to speak in detail about this before the Cabal is removed.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for this is because the Cabal is also listening, and they're creating counter plans that actually hinder the ascension process until they are still in power. So I will not speak about details before the Cabal is removed. But yes, there is a certain process being prepared for this planet, and that includes ascension for some beings.
And what about the others?
It takes a certain period of time, but I will not go into details right here.
If it's for just some beings, what happens to the others?
Not everybody will experience ascension in this lifetime, because it's such a big step of consciousness. Most of regular humanity will just experience deprogramming. It means removal of the programs that they have accepted in their selves by being exposed to the Cabal. So this is going to be removed, and they will be free to choose their own destiny afterwards.
But we are talking in my lifetime.
I will not give any time frame right now. Okay. Not yet.
Was there anything else that you want to specifically say? Is there anything that you've, any news that you have that you haven't released as yet that you can?
There are a few things I would like to say. The first one is that we are now in the final phase of this epic battle between light and dark. And I would say to everybody, just keep focusing upon the light, keep doing the meditations, keep connecting with the source. This is very important for the smooth transition, because what we want to manifest is a smooth transition. So regardless of all the dates and all the timelines, the process is happening, and it will continue until the final breakthrough. And after the final breakthrough, there will be a big celebration all over the world, because people will finally be free. And let's keep that vision and make it a reality.
Yeah, that's a vision we can hold, for sure.
Okay, very good.
Your site is obviously getting a lot of attention. People are very aware of you.
Yes, I realize that.
Yeah. And all the information coming out of there is very good and very positive. So thank you for that.
Okay, actually I was asked by the resistance movement to put up this blog to inform the population, and I had some doubts at the beginning, but they said it's time now, it's time to go for it, and I did. So obviously this has some effects.
Is there more that we can be doing, though, on the ground? I mean, apart from participating in meditations and connection, is there more action that we could be taking?
Oh yes, there are many things you can do. The first one is to spread the information. This is step number one. Step number two is this is also possible to put some pressure on the mass media to start reporting things. You see, this pressure is actually something that light can do to bombard the mass media with letters, with calls, with emails, about start to report the truth, and also you can bombard the governments about the situation and ask questions and investigate. And this is what many people are doing, and this is exactly why we have this progress. So if somebody would like to have more action, they can initialize more action their own way. Because everybody has that inner guidance, and if you're guided to do something, do it. So I would say the key here is action. This is not about just watching the show, it's about actually participating in it and making history, creating our destiny.
Definitely. So how effective are the protests, though? Things like the Occupy movement?
It is not, you see, the real effect of those protests is for the mass population to become aware of the situation. They have not achieved much in terms of the government changing things, but they have achieved much in average person being aware of the 99% and 1%. So
Absolutely.
It's a big achievement. So if you meet anybody on the streets, they will know about it. They will know that there is a small group of central bankers doing nasty things. 1 or 2 years ago, this was not so. So this is a big achievement. And this makes our plans so much easier, because when the time comes for the breakthrough for the event, when things will be in the mass media, people will know, they will understand. And most of them, they will agree. So
yes, when I first learned about how the banking system really works a few years ago, there was no one to talk to about it. You had to go online to do your own research and learn about these things. But now it seems everybody understands the fiat currency system and how it works and who operates it and who owns it. And the Occupy movement pretty much single-handedly did that.
Exactly. So you don't always achieve the objective you have, but you achieve something else. And this is how the light works. You put out something, you do something, and then there is a certain consequence to this, and it might not be exactly what you planned, but you achieve something else, and so the light builds, and at a certain point there is a breakthrough.
I know you said earlier that that humanity is being held hostage, essentially, which is what has stalled action.
Yes.
But is there also a great deal of concern about how humanity is going to react?
Well, one of the main concerns of the light forces is actually the reaction of the masses to more definite action. Because some people will like it and some people will not like it, and we have to deal with that. So actually the hostages have been programmed to the point where many of them don't want to be liberated. And that is quite a complicated problem, and we're trying to resolve this right now.
Yes, it's like the victim falling in love with the perpetrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
So something similar, Stockholm syndrome.
That's it. That's the one. Yes. Yeah. En masse.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a shame. Okay. Thank you again very, very much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure for me to be part of this.
And it was lovely to speak with you. And good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.